Ladies and gentlemen, beloved souls, let me speak to the core of who you are today. Not the face you put on in front of people, not the smile you wear while you're breaking inside, but the real you, the you who cries in silence, wrestles with doubt, battles with fear, sometimes feels stuck in storms that were stirred not by other people, but by your own emotions. I didn't say your neighbor. I didn't say your ex. I didn't say the economy, your boss, your mama, or the devil. No, no. Your greatest enemy lies within. And until you master the storm within, you'll never calm the chaos outside. You don't need a new plan. You need a new level of self-governance. You don't need a new door. You need the wisdom not to bang on the wrong ones out of frustration. See, emotions will lie to you. They will tell you to quit right before the breakthrough. Emotions will scream, "You're not enough," when heaven has already stamped you with divine purpose. Emotions will turn your delay into despair, and your waiting into weeping, if you let them. You can't afford to build your life on a feeling. Emotions are unstable. One moment you feel like a conqueror. The next you feel crushed. One text message changes your mood. One rejection shakes your confidence. One misunderstanding ruins your day, and you call it normal. I came to tell you that is not how you're supposed to live. You were not created to be driven by emotions. You were created to govern them. Anything that governs you becomes your master. If anger governs you, it owns you. If fear governs you, it cages you. If bitterness governs you, poisons you. And if comparison governs you, it drains you. Your destiny is too important to be controlled by momentary emotions. Because let me tell you this, emotions don't care about your future. They only care about right now. They don't care about who you're becoming. They care about comfort in the moment. If you keep bowing to them, you will abort what's been birthed in you. You can feel the emotion. Yes, but you cannot follow it. You can acknowledge it, but you cannot allow it to lead. Some of the worst decisions you ever made were made when you felt something strong, but you lacked clarity. Don't let what you feel cost you what you've been building. There comes a point when you've got to say, I respect how I feel. I choose how I live. Discipline over emotion, purpose over pain, Colin over comfort, wisdom over reaction. Because listen, maturity isn't the absence of emotion. Maturity is mastery over emotion. Can you hold your peace when chaos is raging? Can you wait when you want to rush? Can you love when you feel like lashing out? Can you stay planted when your emotions are screaming for you to run? So no, it's not them. It's not life. It's not even the devil. The biggest enemy you'll have to defeat is not out there. It's in here. War you fight is on the battlefield of the soul. And when you learn to conquer yourself, there's nothing left that can conquer you. When you bring them under submission, when your spirit starts leading and not your feelings, that's when freedom begins. That's when wisdom flows. That's when power rises. That's when your next season opens. There comes a point in every life where the truth must be faced, not with fear, with fierce honesty. And one truth that so many people overlook, one truth that so many dance around, but must be confronted, is this: your emotions, real or unstable, and they make unreliable leaders. We live in a world that constantly tells you to follow your heart, go with your gut, trust your feelings, as if your emotions are always in alignment with your destiny. But the truth is, your emotions are fickle. They shift like the wind. They change based on your circumstances, your hormones, your environment, your experiences, even your sleep schedule. And yet so many are building marriages, making major life decisions, walking away from assignments, and destroying divine connections, all because of what they felt in a moment. Let's make it plain. Emotions are indicators, not instructors. They are messengers, not masters. They were never meant to sit in the driver's seat of your life. And when you allow your emotions to lead, you'll end up in places God never intended you to go. Think about it. One moment you feel hopeful, energized, on fire for your vision. And then out warning, the next day you feel discouraged, doubting everything you once believed in. And what changed? Not your calling, not your capacity. Not your character, only your emotions. That's how volatile they are. That's how unpredictable they can be. People don't fail simply because they didn't have the tools. They failed because they lacked emotional stability. They couldn't keep building when they no longer felt inspired. They couldn't stay committed when they no longer felt excited. They abandoned what was sacred because they didn't feel supported. But feelings are not facts. They can whisper lies that sound like truth when you don't know how to separate impulse from instruction. They are deeply persuasive. They can convince you that you're unloved even when you're surrounded by love. They can convince you to quit even when you're one step away from breakthrough. They can make you jealous of someone who isn't even your competition. They can drive you to sabotage your own joy out of fear of being hurt again. That's why you cannot live according to what you feel. You must live according to what you know. You must be grounded in principles, not emotions. You must be led by wisdom, not feelings. Wisdom is anchored. Wisdom is consistent. Wisdom doesn't shift because someone didn't speak to you this morning. Wisdom doesn't collapse just because you got bad news. Wisdom stays even when emotions run. Some of the worst decisions you've ever made, can we be real, were made when you were overly emotional. You said too much because you were angry. You walked away too soon because you were offended. You pushed away people who were trying to help you because you were afraid. You shut down opportunities because you were insecure. That's the danger of allowing emotions to steer your ship. They'll take you off course and leave you stranded in storms you didn't have to be in. Now listen, I'm not saying emotions are evil. Emotions are a part of your humanity. You're not supposed to ignore them. You're not called to suppress them. You are called to manage them. You are called to lead yourself even when your emotions are loud, because your assignment doesn't pause just because you're having a bad day. If emotions had a voice, they would always be yelling. Right now, they're obsessed with the moment. They crave instant gratification. They beg you to react. But destiny demands discipline. Purpose requires you to respond, not react, because reacting to a temporary feeling can cause a permanent consequence. How many times have you said something in anger and immediately wished you could take it back? How many times have you distanced yourself from someone in insecurity only to realize later that they were sent to bless you? How many times did you cancel your own opportunity because fear whispered, "You're not ready"? That's what happens when emotion is in charge. Emotions see the moment, but they do not see the mission. They are short-sighted. They're not thinking about 5 years from now. They're not concerned with legacy. They don't care about alignment. They care about relief, comfort, escape. But you cannot build a legacy on comfort. You cannot fulfill a calling through escape. You will never see the full picture if you're always chasing what makes you feel good rather than what keeps you grounded. That's why emotional discipline is not optional. It's essential. You must develop the strength to sit with an emotion and not be controlled by it. You must become the kind of person who can say, "I feel fear, but I will still move forward. I feel anger, but I will not let it poison my mouth. I feel loneliness, but I will not compromise for company." So the next time emotion rises up and tries to hijack your spirit, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, is this emotion telling the truth, or is it just loud? Because loud doesn't mean correct, and urgent doesn't mean wise. You were not born to be tossed by every wave of feeling. You were born to stand, to lead, to walk in clarity, not confusion. You must train your soul to submit to truth over feelings. You must choose what's right, not what's easy. You must value legacy over momentary satisfaction. It's easy to point the finger. It's easy to blame your past, your upbringing, your environment, your enemies, the haters, the ex, the economy, the culture. It's easy to say, if they didn't do this, I would be further. If life had been fair, I'd be better. If I hadn't been betrayed, I'd be thriving. It's not the people around you. It's the thoughts within you. It's not the weapons formed against you. It's the war you're waging within yourself. It's not what they did to you. It's how you've let it shape the way you see yourself. Yes, there are forces in this world that oppose you. Yes, life has thrown you blows that you didn't deserve. Yes, people have let you down, hurt you, walked away, misunderstood you, and misused you. But even after they left, even after the storm passed, even after the situation ended, you were still stuck. Why? Because the real enemy didn't walk away. The real enemy took up residence in your mind. The biggest strongholds are not physical prisons. They are mental ones. The bars of fear, the chains of insecurity, the echo of I'm not good enough, the shadow of past trauma, the whispers of shame, the voice that tells you, don't try, you'll fail again. Those are the battles that leave people stuck for years. Not because they're not capable, not because they don't have potential, but because the fight within them is louder than the opportunity in front of them. That's why some people sabotage blessings. That's why they walk away from healthy love. That's why they quit before the breakthrough. That's why they numb themselves, hide themselves, or shrink themselves, not because of the devil outside, but because of the doubt inside. The mind becomes the battlefield. And until you win there, you'll lose everywhere. See, when you don't deal with your internal battles, you become your own resistance. You become the wall you keep hitting. You become the voice of limitation. And no matter how many doors open, no matter how many people encourage you, no matter how much potential surrounds you, you will find a way to disqualify yourself. Because when you are at war with you, no one else has to fight you. You're doing all the work yourself. This is the unseen battle. This is the war behind the smile. This is the struggle no one sees on Instagram. This is the pain that doesn't show up in your outfit, lives in your thoughts. And here's the powerful thing about it, because the battle is internal, so is the victory. That means you don't have to wait for the world to change. You don't have to wait for the apology that may never come. You don't have to wait for someone to rescue you. You don't have to wait for the right time or the perfect conditions. The moment you decide to confront the war inside, the process of freedom begins. Some of you think you're stuck because of lack of opportunity, but the truth is, you're stuck because of internal hesitation. You keep second-guessing yourself. You keep underestimating what you carry. You keep rehearsing what went wrong instead of declaring what can go right. That's not life. That's not fate. That's not God holding you back. That's a battle in your soul, and until you face it, you'll keep calling delay what is actually internal sabotage. That inner battle, the one between fear and faith, between flesh and spirit, between past pain and future promise, that is the greatest war you'll ever fight. Because once you win there, you'll stop retreating. You'll stop shrinking. You'll stop waiting for the stars to align before you move. You'll understand that real power isn't just in being strong, it's in being aligned. Your greatest enemy isn't external criticism, it's internal confusion. It's not the betrayal, it's the bitterness. It's not their rejection, it's your resentment. It's not the closed door, it's your unwillingness to try again. If the enemy can convince you that you are not enough, he doesn't have to do anything else, you'll do the rest. That's why healing is a responsibility. That's why mental clarity is a weapon. That's why you can't afford to ignore the unrest in your soul. Because what you don't confront will control you. What you don't deal with will deal with you. And sometimes the greatest act of spiritual warfare isn't casting out demons. It's casting down imaginations. It's silencing the voice that tells you to stay broken. It's dethroning the lies that have sat too long in your thinking. There is a you that's buried beneath the weight of old wounds. There is a you that has never been fully unleashed because you've been too busy surviving the internal war. Now is the time to stop blaming the outside world and start taking dominion over your inner world. The enemy may form weapons, but they don't have to prosper unless you hand them over to him by quitting on yourself. You win by refusing to let emotions lead truth. You win by speaking life when your thoughts speak death. You win by showing up for yourself even when your feelings tell you to stay down. You win by renewing your mind day by day, moment by moment, choice by choice. You win by standing on what's unshakable, even when everything inside you is shaking. Because when peace becomes your position and faith becomes your focus, the storms within begin to still. Once the storm within you is still, nothing outside of you can truly shake you. So the next time you find yourself asking, what's holding me back? Don't look around, look within. The enemy you must conquer is not on the outside of your house. He's knocking on the doors of your mind, your beliefs, and your identity. And when you rise up with clarity, authority, intention to fight back, not with weapons, but with truth, you will walk in the kind of freedom that no circumstance can steal. You will rise above drama. You will stop needing validation. You will stop being reactive. You will start being rooted. And that, my friend, is the beginning of real victory. Destiny is not cheap. It will not respond to wishful thinking. It will not unlock for the emotionally unstable, the easily offended, or the spiritually immature. Destiny is weighty. It has layers. It requires discernment, discipline, and a level of self-control that goes beyond surface-level faith. And if you're going to carry the mantle of your purpose, if you're going to walk in the full measure of who you were created to be, you must come to terms with this unshakable truth. You cannot walk in authority if your emotions keep dragging you out of alignment. You cannot lead others if you cannot first lead yourself. You cannot steward blessings if you crumble every time someone tells you. No, there's a level of purpose that will remain locked until you develop the emotional fortitude to handle what comes with your calling. Because, let's be honest, it's not the calling that breaks most people, it's the pressure that comes with it. It's not the opportunity that overwhelms them. It's their lack of internal structure. And so, even though the door was open, they couldn't walk through it. Even though the platform was prepared, they couldn't sustain it. Not because they lacked talent, but because they lacked emotional maturity. You will be put in situations where your name is slandered and your heart wants to retaliate. But your assignment demands silence. You will encounter delay. Your flesh will scream for shortcuts, but your purpose requires patience. You will face betrayal. Your emotions will beg for revenge, but your destiny will whisper, forgive, forgive, and keep building. That is the language of maturity. Too many people are gifted but not grounded, anointed but emotionally erratic, called but still caught up in childish responses. And the truth is, until your character can catch up to your calling, you'll keep going in circles. You'll start things you can't finish. You'll enter rooms your soul can't sustain. You'll draw crowds but lose peace, because what you don't develop in private will disqualify you in public. Your destiny isn't just about what you do. It's about how you carry yourself as you do it. Can you handle the pressure? Can you be consistent when applause fades? Can you be trusted with influence without letting pride take over? Can you be corrected without becoming offended? These are not soft questions. These are destiny-defining questions. Because purpose is not sustained by passion alone. It is sustained by maturity. Emotional maturity is the ability to feel deeply but respond wisely. It's not the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of it. It's the ability to choose purpose over impulse, truth over reaction, vision over vengeance. Maturity says, I could respond in anger, but I won't clap back, but I'm focused. I could shut down, but I've come too far to go silent now. Oh, see, some of us have been delayed not by the enemy, by our own emotions. Offense took you out of position. Insecurity made you question your assignment. Comparison robbed you of gratitude. Anxiety caused you to delay obedience, and you keep calling it warfare, but really it's a lack of emotional maturity. Destiny will never give full access to someone who cannot manage what they feel, because you can be anointed and still be dangerous to yourself. You can be favored and still sabotage your own future. You can be chosen and still forfeit it through emotional recklessness. Let's be clear, maturity is not a mood. It's not a vibe. It's not a social media aesthetic. It's how you show up when nobody is watching. It's what you choose when no one is applauding. It's how you treat people who have nothing to give you. It's how you process disappointment without letting it turn into bitterness. You don't qualify for destiny because you want it. You qualify because you're willing to become the kind of person who can carry it. There's a version of you that your future requires. Stronger, wiser, emotionally rooted, spiritually aligned. And you don't arrive there by accident. You arrive there by transformation. Let me tell you something. Your calling will stretch you. It will challenge every immature part of you. It will confront your ego, your impatience, your sensitivity, your fear, because the weight of purpose cannot rest on fragile emotions. You've got to be able to handle being overlooked without folding. You've got to keep showing up when the feelings are gone. You've got to lead yourself before you try leading others. There are blessings you're praying for that God hasn't withheld. He's just waiting for you to grow into the emotional stature required to receive them. Some doors are not locked, they're just delayed until you can be trusted on the other side of them. You start by taking ownership. You stop blaming everyone else for your emotional instability. You begin to trace your triggers, confront your wounds, and develop healthy ways of responding. You pause before you speak. You breathe before you react. You sit with your discomfort instead of running from it. You surround yourself with wise counsel instead of feeding off your feelings. You study your patterns. You ask hard questions. You hold yourself accountable. You heal, not just so you feel better, but so you can become better. And you stop letting your emotions make decisions your future has to pay for. This kind of growth takes time. It's not flashy. It won't always be noticed, but it will build the kind of foundation that purpose can rest on. Because when the pressure comes, and it won't break you. You'll be too grounded to fall apart. You'll be too rooted to be moved. You'll be too focused to be distracted. That's the power of emotional maturity. And care enough, you've got too much inside of you to be ruled by what's going on around you. There is destiny waiting on the other side of your development. You've got to want it enough to grow. You've got to stop settling for emotional habits that feel good but keep you stuck. You've got to be willing to stretch, to rise, to shed the old ways of reacting and embrace the discipline of transformation. There is a kind of freedom that money can't buy, a kind of peace that cannot be faked, a level of clarity that cuts through chaos like a sword. Kind of inner stability doesn't come from the outside in, it comes from the inside out. It is birth when you make the conscious, intentional, often uncomfortable decision to master your emotions. Because let me tell you something, emotions make wonderful messengers, but terrible masters. When emotions rule, life feels foggy, choices feel heavy. You feel pulled in every direction by things you can't explain. You find yourself reacting instead of responding, exploding instead of reflecting, isolating instead of communicating. That's not freedom. That's bondage dressed up in a temporary mood swing. True freedom is not found in doing whatever you feel like doing. True freedom is found in having the power to choose what is right, even when emotions are pulling you in the opposite direction. Freedom is not about escaping emotion. It's about knowing how to walk through it without letting it hijack your mind, your mouth, or your mission. When you don't master your emotions, they master you. And a mastered person cannot be manipulated. A stable person cannot be baited. A focused person cannot be shaken by every wave of feeling. Some people aren't walking in freedom, not because the prison door is locked, because they've handed the keys over to their feelings. Their anger controls their actions. Their fear dictates their decisions. Their insecurity filters every relationship. Their shame determines what they believe they deserve. And until you deal with what's ruling you, you'll keep wondering why everything feels heavy even when life seems fine on the outside. When emotions are in charge, peace is impossible. Why? Because peace requires stillness. But emotions, especially unmanaged ones, thrive on noise. They're loud. They stir up fear, resentment, regret, jealousy, confusion. They cloud your thinking. They keep you reliving old wounds and imagining disasters that haven't even happened. And when you live under that storm cloud long enough, you start to mistake the chaos for normal. You start building a life around emotional instability and calling it who I am. But hear me, you are not your emotions. You have them, but they are not your identity. They are signals, not instructions. Feelings may rise, but they don't have to reign. You don't have to follow every emotional wave. You don't have to react to every spark of offense. You don't have to spiral into every anxious thought. There is a place within you where stillness can grow, where clarity can lead, where truth can anchor you. You will never find it until you take back authority over your emotions. Mastering your emotions is not about being numb. It's not about pretending you don't feel. It's about maturing to the place where you recognize what you feel, but still move according to wisdom. You can acknowledge your pain without becoming paralyzed by it. You can admit your fear and still walk in faith. You can feel overwhelmed and still remain anchored in truth. It's choosing not to send that angry text. It's biting your tongue when your pride wants to speak. It's sitting in discomfort without making a destructive decision just to feel better for 5 minutes. It's pausing when everything in you wants to rush. It's listening instead of lashing out. It's holding peace when you want to pick a fight. That is power. That is self-governance. That is what opens the gates of clarity and real freedom. See, when you master your emotions, you stop being reactive. And the moment you stop reacting to everything, you start seeing clearly. The fog lifts. You're no longer making decisions out of desperation. You stop confusing temporary feelings for permanent truth. You stop abandoning long-term vision because of short-term emotion. That's what clarity does. It repositions you. It restores you. It allows you to discern the difference between what feels urgent and what is truly important. Clarity cannot dwell in emotional chaos. When your emotions are unchecked, your discernment is off. You misread people. You jump to conclusions. You assume motives. You mislabel seasons. You call endings betrayals, and you call discipline rejection. You confuse conviction with shame. Why? Because emotions distort perception, and you cannot fight a battle you cannot see clearly. When you are emotionally mature, you don't chase peace, you create it. You don't wait for the storm to calm. You anchor yourself while it rages. You don't need everyone to like you, affirm you, or agree with you. You have clarity about who you are and who you're becoming. You are no longer pulled by every wave of feeling because your feet are planted in something deeper than emotion, truth, purpose, and vision. It starts with awareness. You can't conquer what you won't acknowledge. You've got to learn how to name what you feel without being shamed by it. You've got to sit with yourself long enough to recognize your patterns. When do you spiral? When do you shut down? When do you lash out? Where did those responses come from? What pain are they rooted in? Then you bring those emotions under alignment with truth. Ask yourself, is this feeling telling me the truth, or is it just reacting to old pain? Is this emotion based on what is? What was? Does this emotion serve my future or sabotage it? And finally, you practice restraint with wisdom. Mastery doesn't mean you never feel again. It means you don't let feelings drive the car. You choose your actions, your words, your direction based on clarity, not chaos. So today, I challenge you, take your power back. Stop surrendering your peace to every passing feeling. Stop letting unhealed emotions write the story of your life. Rise up, grow up, breathe deep, think clearly, move intentionally. There will come a moment in every journey, in every calling, in every life, where a line is drawn in the sand. A decision must be made between the narrow road of purpose and the wide, easy lane of comfort. And it is at that crossroad where many lose their way, not because they weren't gifted, not because they weren't called, but because they were comfortable. Comfort is seductive. It is cozy, familiar, and convenient. Comfort offers you safety, ease, and routine. It whispers, stay here. This is enough. Don't risk it. Don't stretch. Don't reach. But purpose doesn't whisper. It calls. It stirs. It stretches. It makes demands on your life, pulls you out of the shallow end and throws you into deeper waters. Purpose says, there is more in you, and you will never discover it if you keep playing it safe. You must choose, because you cannot have both. You cannot chase destiny and cling to comfort. You cannot grow and stay the same. You cannot walk in calling and still be controlled by convenience. Something has to give. Something has to break. Something has to be surrendered. Many are not stuck because of a lack of opportunity. They are stuck because of a loyalty to comfort. They are bound to routines that no longer serve them. They are attached to relationships that validate their stagnation. They are addicted to environments that don't challenge them to evolve. They are entertained by distractions that rob them of time and clarity. Comfort says, sleep a little longer. Purpose says, get up and work while it's still dark. Comfort says, don't take the risk. What if you fail? Purpose says, take the step. Even failure is a step forward. Comfort says, let it go. It's too hard. Purpose says, endure. There is glory in the grind. And the problem is, too many are sacrificing purpose for comfort. They're giving up long-term transformation for short-term ease. But you can't birth greatness in the womb of convenience. Every time you choose to stay where it's familiar, you delay what's forming inside you. Purpose demands movement. It requires stretching. It will take you out of what's predictable and lead you into what's possible. Don't you see? Destiny doesn't dwell in comfort zones. Growth doesn't happen in places where you're never challenged. Anointing doesn't flow through complacency. The doors you're praying for don't open in the land of comfort. They open in the land of courage, faith, obedience, and sacrifice. That's why so many feel stuck, not because they're not called, but because they refuse to be inconvenienced. They want elevation without endurance. They want fruit without discipline. They want legacy without leaving anything behind. You cannot take hold of what's ahead while clinging to what's behind. You cannot climb higher while refusing to let go of the ground you've known. It will cost you time, comfort, and people who don't understand your calling. It will cost you old habits, limited thinking, and sometimes even your reputation. It will never cost you who you are. In fact, purpose is the one thing that introduces you to your true self. The self that lives beyond comfort, self that survives the pain, the self that endures the pressure, the self that embraces the weight of calling and refuses to break. Every time you choose comfort, you silence the voice of purpose. You tell your calling, you can wait. You tell your gift, you're not needed right now. You tell your future, I'm too tired, I'm too busy, I'm too afraid. But time is moving, purpose is waiting, and there is someone on the other side of your obedience who is waiting on you to wake up from the illusion of comfort. You see, comfort is a liar. It tells you this is all there is. It convinces you that peace means passivity, that rest means retreat, that ease means alignment. Comfort is not your friend when it becomes a cage. What once was a safe space becomes a holding cell, and you keep calling it home when it's really a hiding place. Purpose won't let you hide. Purpose will find you in your excuses. It will stir you when you try to settle. It will visit you in the middle of the night and whisper, you were made for more. It will disrupt your comfort just to reawaken your courage. It will strip away what you thought you needed just to show you what was actually inside you all along. If you want to grow, you must become uncomfortable. You must choose the difficult conversation over silent resentment. You must choose the early morning discipline over late night distractions. You must choose the narrow path, the lonely season, the stretching place, because that is where your character is forged. That is where clarity is born. That is where strength is developed. God does not call you to comfort. He calls you to become. And becoming is messy. It's uncomfortable. It requires faith in moments where there is no evidence. It demands surrender in places where you want control. It asks you to walk forward, even when your feelings want to run away. Are you going to stay where it's comfortable? Or are you going to rise where it's purposeful? Are you going to settle for predictable, or are you going to stretch into the unknown? Are you going to keep circling what feels safe? Or are you going to walk into what's sacred? Purpose doesn't show up all dressed up in lights and applause. It shows up in discipline, shows up in obedience. It shows up in those little moments when you choose growth over ease, when you show up despite fear, when you stay faithful even when no one is watching. When you choose purpose, comfort may leave, but fulfillment will find you, clarity will find you, joy will find you. Power will find you, and everything you thought you were giving up will be replaced by something far greater. You can have talent, you can have influence, you can have resources, but if you don't know how to govern yourself, you will lose battles that were already yours to win. You will forfeit blessings that had your name on them. You will keep repeating cycles that keep you bound, not because the enemy is stronger, because your emotions are louder than your discipline. We don't talk about this enough, but the truth is, many people are praying for wins when what they really need is governance. They are asking God for increase while leaking power through emotional instability, impulsive decisions, and undisciplined living. They are ready for new seasons, but haven't built the inner structure to carry the weight of what they're asking for. And so the prayer goes unanswered, not because they aren't called, but because they aren't governed. You cannot rule over anything you refuse to rule within. You cannot lead others if you cannot first lead you, because your greatest victory will never be over your enemies. It will always be over yourself. Self-governance is the ability to tell yourself no when everything in you wants to say, wise. It's the internal strength to delay gratification in the name of greater gain. It's knowing how to manage your time, your mouth, your emotions, your thoughts, your reactions, your hunger, your desires, and your weaknesses. Governance is not self-hate. It's not self-denial. It's self-leadership. It's spiritual maturity in action. The lack of self-governance is why great people fall. Not because they weren't favored. Not because they weren't gifted, because they lack the internal controls to manage the external pressures. Let's be honest, life will not always give you favorable conditions. People won't always treat you fairly. The world doesn't always make sense. But what gives you the edge